Good afternoon. Before we get going, I always like to take this time to really thank the staff. I mean, it's a lot of work that goes into this day and year-round work by a lot of guys that work their tail off. And I always like to mention them, starting with Matt Russell, who's our director of player personnel. And, he does a tremendous job. I'd also like to thank Vic and his entire coaching staff, because it's really a group that we all work together and hopefully come out of the draft with a lot of good football players that can help us, and it's a collaboration among everybody. So the entire staff was great. I want to talk about Brian Stark. He's our director of college scouting, has done a tremendous job, as well as A.J. Durso, who's the director of pro scouting and does a hell of a job. And really kind of the unsung heroes, as we mention all the time, is our scouts, Eugene Armstrong, Dave Bratton, Scott DiStefano, Klein Kubiak, Darren Muji, Nick Shirelli, and Brian Chesson. Those guys are on the road, and it gets lonely out there sometimes, but they do a hell of a job. We ask a lot of them. They do not only a great job in film study, but also in character and finding out the backgrounds of each of these players. And so it's a tremendous amount of work, and they do a heck of a job. Also, I want to mention Jordan Dizon, Pat Walsh, Robbie Patton, Deion Randall, and Eddie Simpkins. The guys that just, continually work their tail off. Administratively, Ray Jackson, player development. On the medical side, Greek and Vince Garcia, they do a ton of work on the background, on the medical background of these players. And it's a lot of tedious work, and they really do a great job and allow us to be able to pick the best players we possibly can that are healthy and have the ability to withstand the rigors of the NFL. Mitch Tanny on analytics. We're digging deeper in that every year. So we're keeping developing that. Mark Thews with compliance as well as general administration. Mike Sullivan with our contracts. And last but not least, Pam Papsdorf, who does all the logistics and getting everybody in and out of here. So I'm really thankful to that whole staff. They do a tremendous job, and it all culminates today. And, we're real happy with how the draft fell and excited about the players that we've got. You've met half of them so far, and think that we've got the players that can come in and help us. And so with that being said, we'll turn it over for some questions.
Okay. John, can you just kind of go into your decision for wanting to trade up to the 6 to get Juwan Winfree?
Well, Juwan, he was a kind of a target for us, and so we wanted to get up and, we'd heard some things that some other teams were interested in, so he was kind of a target for us. And so when you get there late in the draft like we were and we had him targeted, then we're doing everything we could to get up. Unfortunately, we found a trade partner in Carolina, and we're able to get up and get him. He got obviously injured last year. We saw him working his pro day and feel like, he's got some real upside. So, we feel good about getting him in the 6th round.
Hey, Vic, Justin Hollins, what do you like about his tape, and what kind of versatility could he bring to this defense?
Well, number one, I like his versatility. He's played primarily outside linebacker, but he has played a little bit of inside linebacker, particularly in one of the All-Star games. And we're going to try him at both spots while he's here and see if he's got the best future at or the best fit for us at this time.
John, this was the first time you used your first 3 picks on offense. I'm wondering where you think you stand now after bolstering the offense and just kind of overall how you think you improved your team.
Well, I think that, first of all, I think we improved in the offseason, with the addition of Joe Flacco and bringing him in, and Juwan James at the right tackle. And so I'm probably forgetting somebody, but there's been a lot of names at this point in time. But, those two obviously coming in have helped us offensively. And then going with Noah and Dalton with the first 2 picks to where, feel like they can come in and help us also. So, I think we're a lot better in the offensive line. I think we continue to get better there, but I think we got better in the offensive line. Obviously, Noah could stretch the field. Joe's going to, to me, still, as we believe, has a tremendous upside in his career. So we feel, a lot better about that. So, and then Drew coming in, competing for, the backup spot, gets us some depth there. So, we feel much better where we're sitting here now today than we did, coming out of last season, where we are and the additions that we've made, not only as the players, but also with Vic and his staff. I think that, it's a good spot to be in, as we were talking about earlier. If we were to say before the draft that we'd come out with these 6 players, we'd be overjoyed with that, and we're able to get that. So I feel like it was a good draft for us.
John, last year you drafted guys with experience, played a lot, captains. It looks like some of that carried over this year. Is that part of, and guys you're identifying that you want as Broncos moving forward?
Yeah, I mean, I think that definitely, it worked for us last year, and I think that, we're looking back, and, when you look back at drafts, you always try to figure out what we did well, what we didn't do well, and I think that, the concentration, especially the last couple of years, has been on really mature kids, and kids that, have a tremendous background, that are ready to go and come in and want to be Broncos, and, are going to work at it. So, that maturity level has helped. Again, I think the class that we have is, a very good group, and a lot of good leaders in this group too.
I know you didn't get to spend a lot of time with them, but with Noah yesterday and the 3 picks today, your early impressions of these young men, and also you seem to, a lot of the guys who you guys brought in for visits are guys that you ended up drafting.
I'm sure you'll use that against us next year. We'll have to figure out how we're going to avoid that next year. But, the great thing is that, yeah, they were everything that we thought they were. Obviously we got a chance to spend a lot of time with Noah, Dalton, and Drew, and Draymond before the draft. And so, they didn't disappoint today. I think that, you had a chance to meet them too, and see what kind of kids they are, and they're really good kids. So, as I said, we excited about the class, and the time we did spend with us helped us tremendously. And so I'm excited about, who they are as not only as football players, but as guys.
Oh, yeah, Vic, you've been with several organizations. I was wondering your thoughts on anything unique, different, something that popped out at you on how the Broncos go about the draft.
Nothing, terribly unique or out of the order, other than I just was impressed from the start, when the process started at the Combine all the way through to today, that there was just a good working relationship with everybody. You could see that everybody was comfortable. Matt, Brian Stark, obviously John, the scouts interacting with us as coaches and vice versa. It went very, very smoothly.
John, what do you like about Dakota that led to the trade to bring him back and come down to what he did here a few years ago?
I couldn't hear. What was the last part?
Dakota Watson.
Yeah. No, we're excited about having Dakota back. We liked him when he was here. He left, and thought that he can bring some outside pass rush, and also he led us in special teams tackles 2 or 3 years ago, and so just thought it was an opportunity to bring him back, so we took advantage of that.
Yeah, I'm just curious if inside linebacker and corner, did the draft just not fall that way for you, or did you think those positions were top heavy in the draft?
Well, it just didn't fall that way. We had opportunities. We just went the direction that we went. We felt that we were better off that way. By the time we got into, it was different choices that you make. We thought Justin could play inside or outside, so I think that's when we talk about inside backer. And I mean at corner, we're still in pretty good shape at corner. So we were trying. We tried to bolster the offensive line. We did that, and also with Noah spreading the field. So we really tried to stay true to the board. And again, thought with Justin, with the flexibility and versatility that he has, with him going inside as well as outside. So we kind of felt like we kind of hit all their spots the best we could.
For Vic, do you plan to have more of like a rookie orientation where it's more classroom, getting acclimated type stuff, or will there be like a full-fledged camp with on-field work and whatnot?
That's yet to be determined. It'll basically come down to the numbers, how many guys we can get in here. Invariably what happens is you might be light at a certain position or two, so you have to adjust practice to a certain degree. But we'd like to get them out on the field if we can, and we will in some shape or form. We just don't know what that'll exactly look like yet. I'm sure we'll bring in a couple guys for tryouts, so that will fill it up a little bit, but you're never quite sure.
John, what's allowed you to have so much success signing undrafted guys in the past?
Well, I will tell you this, the way that we work the boards, and the thing is, you know, our pro department does a tremendous job. You know, we work on the front board so hard and the draftable board. We work on that hard, but we really, the group, as I said, I mentioned earlier, AJ Durso, Jordan Diazon, and Patrick Walsh on the pro side, they really spend time on the backboard, stacking the backboard for us. And, you know, that's not easy work, but they do a heck of a job. So by the time we get ready and the board, you know, once we get through the draft, we see what's still left on the front board, and then we trust the board and we trust the backboard, and because those guys work so hard on the backboard also. So not only we spend the time on the front board, but the pro department does a great job on the backboard, so getting those things stacked. So when it is time to say go and sign some CFAs, we know what we want, and we go and try to get those guys that we want.
John, do you know about how many slots you'll have for the undrafted?
I think it's around between 15 and 17, somewhere up there. Yeah.
John, you guys participated in several trades today. I'm wondering, sort of league-wide, looking at the number of moves that were made, was it an increase from previous years? Was there more buzz kind of on that trade market? And how does that impact your strategy?
Well, I think guys just targeted guys more. I don't know that it was real deep on the backside, and so guys had targeted, you know, guys that they had targeted, and so therefore were willing to move to try to go get those players. And so I think that's probably why you saw more moves of people, especially near the back end of the draft, of people going after the people they target rather than just waiting to see what's there and having it come to them. So I think the depth of the draft is kind of what led to that.
Vic, I'm curious how you would evaluate the inside linebacker group that you do have now, whether you do or don't add Justin to that group.
Well, right now we've got Josie and Todd working, and we've got AJ and KB. They're also, you know, we'll take a look at Justin there. I'm sure we'll sign a undrafted free agent or two. So, you know, it's very early in the process, and we'll see how it shakes out.
Hey, John, on Chris Harris, going back to last week, how surprised were you by his request through his agent? And also, do you expect to meet with them this week and have a future here through at least this year with him?
Yeah, well, as I said, now that the draft's over, we'll make contact, and so we'll touch base with them and see where they are. But there was no contact with Chris or about Chris today, and so we'll continue down that path and see what happens.
It is early because the draft just happened, but at one point last year you were 6-6. You felt like you were ready to turn the corner. Do you feel like where you are now, this roster, you're finally kind of over the other side of the mountain and what you've gone through the last couple of years?
Yeah, you know what? I'm really at the point that we're going to take this thing one day at a time. I think, obviously it's been disappointing the last couple of years, and I'm excited about the new staff and the new players that we do have, but it's one step at a time. And so, I'm just kind of, I don't want to get too far ahead, but I'm excited with the guys that we have. But again, as I said, this thing is one step at a time, so we'll keep it that way.
Thank you very much, John. Thank you.
All right.